Cool. Okay.
Hello,
Just gonna give
hello.
it a few minutes to let a few more people join us. If you want to tell us where you're tuning in from in the chat, please do. I'm here in the Teachable office in New York.
A very busy office, might I add. Everyone at the
It
Teachable
is.
company that's in the New York area is in the office today, so I've heard.
It is. Yes, it's because we have a holiday celebration today, but very fun energy. All right. Hi, Danny. Okay. What do you think, Steph? Should we dive in?
I think let's give it a minute and then we'll dive in. I think I still see people kind of
Perfect.
coming in, but yeah, if everyone wants to, hello, welcome. We're so excited to do this. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday afternoon. I know we had a webinar earlier this week, so if you
Mhm.
are, this is your second Teachable webinar of the week, thank you for joining. Um,
Yes, thank you.
I encourage everyone to be, we're gonna be watching the chat. So I'd encourage everyone, if you have questions, throw them in there. We have also other Teachable folks in the chat kind of monitoring, and I will keep a look throughout this, but we're excited to have you.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, let's dive in. The name of this webinar is Your 2026 Price Strategy, How to Increase Value and Revenue Now. And we say now because it is the end of the year, but here we are hosting three webinars in December because it's not over till it's over. Where it is still peak season, even though Black Friday is over. So we are still focused on hitting our sales goals for this year and setting up for success for next year. So I am Caitlin. I'm a product marketing manager. Fun fact, I just this week celebrated 6 years at Teachable, but I was actually a copywriter until the middle of this year when I jumped into the product marketing team. That is to say, it is my first time leading a webinar. So please be nice to me. But Steph, it's not your first time.
It is,
Definitely not.
it is not my first time. It's not my first time. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Steph. I am a customer success manager here. I've been here for not 6 years, but a little over three and a half. So I
That's a
have
long time.
yeah, had my
Yeah.
fair share of webinars under my belt. But yeah, super excited for this one. And Caitlin, you're gonna crush it.
Cool. So that was our quick introduction. First, we're going to go into our data team pulled some really interesting numbers and what the data at Teachable here shows about pricing. From there, we're kind of going to quickly review some signs that your pricing might need an update. And from there, we're going to go into the in-depth strategies that actually work, that are creator proven to work. The next steps, and then hopefully we have time. We're going to make time for Q&A at the end and a little reward. So please stick around with us. But before we get started, that's right, some housekeeping. One, the session is being recorded. So yes, you will get a recorded link to the recording later. So don't worry if you have to hop early, though. I hope you stay with us. Add your questions in the Q&A feature that Zoom has, and then we're going to separate a moment at the end to go through them. And just stay tuned till the very end. Stick with us. We also have a feedback survey we're going to share with you. And if you share your feedback, then you will be entered to get a little surprise. So before we dive in, we want to know, tell us, what is the current moment of your business? Are you just getting started? You're working on your first product. Maybe you have that product ready, but no sales yet. Or maybe you're actively scaling, and that could look like different things to different people. Maybe that means you're working on your second and third product. Maybe you're figuring out ways to expand your audience, like whatever that looks like to you. Or maybe you're
A lot of three already.
a lot of
A lot of
three.
three.
And maybe for you've hit a little bit of a plateau and you just don't know how to keep growing. And that's okay because we're going to talk about the growth plateau. This is very common. Your growth stalls and the things that you've done and the systems you've set up and the strategies that worked in the past are just maybe not working now. And that could look like three different things, probably a combination of those. You've hit a revenue ceiling, which means especially if you are kind of relying on evergreen sales in the background, or maybe you had a great single product launch, um, you've just hit a ceiling and you kind of need to go forward from there. Time scarcity. We talk a lot about trading hours for dollars, and you have no more hours. So especially for these creators who are working for themselves or small business owners. That's a very common issue. So, how to scale when your hours are just strapped. Untapped potential. Maybe you're getting a lot of great feedback and your customers or your students are ready to invest more, but you have nothing else to give, nothing for you.
I also want to note on this, so you go back one
Yes.
slide. You could be here, and for the threes in the room, I know we got a lot of those in the chat. You might be sitting, I am actively scaling, I'm growing, I haven't reached my plateau yet. This is very much still for you. I think
Yeah.
something I neglected to mention in my introduction is I actually work with the top 75 customers on the platform, so the highest grossing customers. And this is for everyone. If you are sitting here and you have hit that growth plateau, we'll give you some advice. If you haven't, you are getting ahead of it because at some point of every single person's business, you will hit a growth plateau eventually. But if you can have the foresight to put things in place before you get there, that's the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, kind of like preparing for those cycles and kind of building it into your cadence. Okay, so the solution is to build a better, smarter system. When we talk about pricing, the product ecosystem, there's like three distinct levers, sorry, that we talk about implementing. First is increasing your customer base, and that's just bringing new people into your audience, obviously. The bigger your audience, even with the attrition rate, like probably the more sales you're going to get. Steph, I bet like a lot of people think this is the only lever or maybe like get stuck here. Um, but we also want to talk about and think about increasing the repurchase rate. So you have customers, you have brought in students, and now you want to deepen that relationship with them and essentially get them to buy more, but also like help them deepen their transformation.
My
Which
MO also on a webinar is I break the fourth wall. Is that what it's called when I'm like looking directly at you? Um, I have actually done recently, Danny from our product marketing team and I did a whole webinar on repurchase rate. So we will not really be covering that as much today. We're going to obviously cover price with intention, but we will send it out if you missed it because it's a great webinar, if I do say so
Yes,
myself.
it is on our YouTube, and the title is your best customer. No, it was a very confusing
It's a
title. Your
tongue
next best
twister.
customer is your best customer. And it was a great webinar. But today we're really hovering around this third lever, which is price with intention. So we want to build a pricing approach that reflects the value of what you're offering, reflects where your customers are at, and kind of guides them into the best experiences for them. Oh, there we go, a little transition. But like I said, everything we're about to present to you is data backed. It is a playbook that our top 50 creators on our platform are using, and we're going to dive into some numbers that is pulled from our top 50 creators.
This is me. So yeah, I work with our top 75. This is absolutely coming from our data team, but I'm here to basically add the anecdotal evidence, things that you can take. I think data is only great if you know what you're looking at and you know how to apply it to you. So we'll kind of go through these a little bit quick because at the end of the presentation, we have a lot going on here and we'll get into these a little bit in more depth. So if you feel like I'm going through these fast, don't worry. One, you'll have this recording, and two, we'll talk about this later. So a few insights that we pulled is the average number of products that our top 50 creators offer, 30. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I have one product, this doesn't mean that you have to scale to 30 right away. This is just the average of the most successful creators on our platform. And also, if you have hundreds of products on the platform, it could be that maybe your school is set up different or, you're in a different niche, which we will also get into niches later. I think it really depends. You have to be obviously authentic to your business and what you offer, but I do think it's nice to have a little bit of a benchmark. So 30 is the average number of products. And if you go to the next slide, we're going to talk about pricing, which is what everyone's here for. So I get asked every single day, how is my price? Is this good? Is it bad? And I do sound a little bit redundant where I'm like, well, it depends. But again, I think the baseline is good. So for a one-time payment, so this is someone purchases, you have a pricing plan, they purchase once, they have access to the content. The average price for top 50 creators is pretty significantly higher than all of the other creators on the platform. So I think when people see this, there's a general sentiment of, well, they got there because they're charging more. They can charge more because they're a top creator. But I would say in, the 3.5+ years that I've worked with people, there's people that are brand new to the top 50 who have still been charging a more premium price. So this is the average for one-time payments. If you go to the next slide, also yearly subscriptions. So this is going to be, it could be in a course, it could be, a bundle, something where someone's paying a recurring price for a course. So yearly subscriptions, again, a pretty significant difference here. And then we also have the last one for monthly. So it's really interesting when I look at this. I'm like, okay, so every other creator, not just the top 50, monthly subscriptions are roughly priced the same. A caveat here is this is from the last 6 months on average. So you could be looking at this and saying, my monthly subscription is $12. What's going on? The whole purpose of this presentation and this webinar is to get your mind thinking about how you can either raise your prices, keep them the same, lower your prices, and be competitive amongst your niche and also your company. So again, take these with a little bit of grain of salt. We are not saying you have to go run and change your products immediately. I think the insight that I want you to take away from this first insight is if you only have one product, you probably need to expand. If you're significantly off on these prices, continue to tune into this and really pay attention. And if you're someone who's sitting here saying, I'm only offering subscriptions or I'm only offering one-time payments, I would recommend that you probably think about dipping into the other one. So,
Yeah. And then later we're going to be talking a lot about kind of the benefit of having multiple products and different ways you can package them.
yes, and that brings to the insight number two, which again, if you feel like we're going through these fast, we will get into it, I promise. If you have any questions specifically, don't feel like you have to wait till the Q&A. You can drop them in the chat. We have people in there and I'll try to get to them if I see them. But on kind of the course situation,
Mhm.
the most successful people also build a portfolio. You don't really go to a store in person and they sell one thing and one thing only. Maybe they do. Maybe it's the olive oil stores that I have no idea how they're still in business everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they have a complete portfolio or more things going on. That is consistent with online courses too. So 52% of our top creators offer a bundle or a membership or something that increases their average order value. Go to the next slide. And again, similar to that, we're kind of just breaking out of the past 6 months. These are the average prices of this. I think something to note here is that bundles and courses, they're not really that far off. If you are someone where you have a portfolio of more than a few courses, you have everything you need to make a bundle. A bundle is not necessarily about adding exclusive additional content. It's about making a journey and curating a specific thing where a customer doesn't have to say, I purchased course A, and now what am I going to do next? You are basically making that for them. So,
Yep, exactly. A bundle could be a course in a course. So it's like the first course and the next step. A bundle could be a course in a download, a course in a coaching session. So many possibilities.
yeah.
Oh, now we love talking about niche.
I love this is my favorite thing to talk about. And again, I probably sound very redundant on this where I'm like, it really depends. You'll hear me say this many times in this webinar of like, talk to your students. It really depends. It depends, but it does. So I think here niche matters when we talk about price. Like, I would be lying to you if I said that wasn't the case. It absolutely is. Niche matters, but how you sell matters more. So when we look at the top niches on Teachable, when we think about careers, that's going to be any type of professional development, things generally where people are maybe tapping into businesses. So I know, for example, Google, they have a stipend for their employees where they can learn things. The career professional development, those types of people are tapping into those types of markets, corporate budgets, end of year budgets, things like that. A lot of times, how they're learning they can charge a little bit more because it's professional development and they're selling into a business. Whereas we think of tech and languages, again, very different industries. Tech is going to be your coding. I'm learning how to use Excel. I'm learning, a different coding language versus I'm learning an actual language. These are priced pretty similarly because even though the niche is very different, the way they sell is very similar. A lot of the times, this is, your academy style Netflix kind of catalog. I hate to say it, but Duolingo, where you have a curation of a journey, but you can pick and choose kind of what you want to do along the way. So when you think about niche, yes, it's important, but also you might sell something that's academy style. You probably want to be more in line with kind of those tech language prices.
Absolutely. All right, so we are curious if you could drop it in the chat as we move on. When was the last time you reviewed your pricing strategy? Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it was when you first launched. Maybe it was ahead of Black Friday. No wrong answers here. We're going to talk about why now is the best time to revisit your pricing. Well, one, there's no time like the present and with many things. But also we've noticed that our top creators, they don't really wait for a specific date. It's something that they continuously revisit as they add products, as their products evolve, as their audience evolves, as the market evolves, especially like within their niche, like we said. Okay, there is no time like the present, or there is no specific time, but also if there was, it would be now because it's the end of the year. And the end of the year represents, operational reset for a lot of people. It's planning season, so we do talk to a lot of B2B creators, people who are selling to businesses. Those businesses are resetting budgets. They are deciding, what they have to allocate to employee training in 2026. So it's a great idea to just get ahead of that. And a lot of people are just primed to expect changes at the top of a new year. I know I have a toddler, so I kind of expect childcare costs to raise at the beginning of every school year. It is kind of, something that people are primed for. Um, and again, if you're still unsure, we're going to go over the top 5 signs that your pricing strategy might need an update. And to reiterate, maybe these don't apply to you, but I think the strategies, like Steph said, will be really will be really beneficial to just kind of get ahead of things. Okay, the interest is there, but the sales aren't. Your buyers are hesitating, or maybe they're only buying during those big promotional periods. Your pricing is stuck on year one. Your students are maybe not directly, but in indirect ways telling you themselves. And your buyer has leveled up or your offer has leveled up. Okay. So if you're seeing just flat conversion rates or declining conversion rates, that's kind of a sign that things are just stale. So it's time to look at your price, look at your offer, look at the positioning. It's not matching, it's not lining up with market expectations. Maybe there's a widening gap between traffic and sales. So that says something to me that you're doing something right to be bringing in new leads, but the revenue is not growing with your leads. So there's some sort of mismatch between sort of the perceived value and your price. Or maybe even you're a step further and you have not just the audience growing, but like good engagement, like you're getting clicks, people are asking you questions in your DMs about the product, people are attending your webinars, but then they're just dropping off before they even like make the checkout page. Okay, 2, your buyers are hesitating or they're only buying during certain times. Um, Slow decision cycles, if you're seeing somebody enter your leads, enter your ecosystem, and then eventually buying, but like there's just a long kind of leeway, that means there's something that's indicating hesitation, and there's something that's sort of stopping them from acting quicker. Um, Sales clustering around promotions show that we're not just talking about price increasing today. That might be an indication that your price is too high. Pricing, it works both ways. Increased cart abandonment, which by the way, I hope you're using the cart abandonment email feature on Teachable, but basically that is when people are putting it in your cart, putting it in their cart, about to check out, and then they just don't take that very final step of entering their payment information or just checking out. That's directly like a friction with the price. And then, oops. And then buyers just dropping to like your lower tier offers when they'd probably be a good candidate for your higher tier offer. That's showing that there's some miscommunication and that the price is probably the barrier. Now, Steph, you and I talked a little bit about like promotional periods because right now is a big promotion period time of the year. I know, like, to be frank, I'm kind of only buying things on sale in the months of November and December.
Yeah.
So like the
Also
caveat.
in the chat, I'm laughing because I'm like, you guys are so clued into what we were gonna say. I think when you think about pricing and upping pricing or, adjusting pricing again, this whole presentation is not to say you need to raise your prices. You might need to be more competitive with your niche, or how you are selling. But I think don't make that decision just because of this time of year. As
Mhm.
people, with corporations and things like that, a lot of things are on sale right now, and a lot of people will only buy on sale right now. But I hope that you can come out of this with, a thought process, ideas, what you can do, but don't make these decisions just based on right now.
Yeah,
Also, on the cart abandonment, Laura in the chat asked, is there a way to see if someone clicks through but doesn't purchase? And I would say you can see that in your cart abandonment. So if someone goes all the way to checkout and doesn't purchase, you can also set up an email and kind of help get them back. So that would be a good, I think, first step.
cool. All right, maybe your pricing is just stuck when you first launched. Like you launched a few years ago and you haven't changed things. That's a huge indicator that it's time to check out your pricing strategy. Fun fact, so this is kind of in relation to like a lot of those evergreen course sales when people have a course product and they kind of set it in the background and it's selling in the background. 80% of the sales for that product are happening in the first 2 years. So just something to keep in mind. If you have like updated content, if you went in and just like, you learned more, you improved the frameworks, you just kind of solidified it, like you can charge more. Like you don't, your original price might not reflect the offer anymore. Also, we're not selling and existing in a vacuum. Like it's important to check out the competitors and check out market standards if they've shifted. Like I was thinking about this. This is a silly example, but I've been a paying subscriber of Netflix for a very, very long time. And when I first signed up, it was $7.99. And now I don't know what it is. It's $18.99, but I don't expect any streaming to offer for $7.99, except for like the new ones that are starting to, just starting out. So it's always good to pay attention to the market shifts.
Also, something to add here, and I think when people think of the top 50, the top 75, they think that they're not nervous to make any decisions, and maybe, they know exactly what they're doing, and that's absolutely not the case. I think a lot of people feel bad potentially raising their prices, and again, I'm going to say this over and over again. We are not telling you that you need to change your or raise your prices. Again, it might be lower them. This slide is very, kind of focused on raising your prices. But I think if you've added more, I used to work at a luggage company. They upgraded the handle, they upgraded the wheels, they upgraded all these things, and then they raised their price. People expect that, and they're
Mhm.
not mad about, I mean, some people might be mad, but maybe they're not your ideal target customer. But I think as long as you are adding some type of value and continuing to keep that up, you can probably charge more.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of compare your digital products. Like think about them in terms of like a physical, like a suitcase is a very tangible thing, but like that you have permission to do that also. All right, next, your students are telling you themselves, probably not directly, they're probably not saying, I would love to pay more, but there are signs and there are patterns you're catching up on. So look for patterns and testimonials. If you're getting like praise for like, wow, this goes so much deeper than I expected. I felt so supported. Like I got a lot of value. XYZ thing happened to me after I took this course. You can probably charge more if you're getting that repeated feedback. If you're getting requests for deeper support, maybe that's not a sign that you're gonna charge more for that single product, but maybe it's a sign to like offer something else and like work on your high ticket product next. If students tell you this over delivers for the price, that's pretty much the strongest signal you could get. Um, and then sometimes on the flip side, like you might be getting feedback and it's pointing to gaps in your product. That is a sign that it's not the time to focus on pricing, and it's probably the time to make updates to your product before you revisit the pricing conversation. Um, Steph, talking about
You're
feedback, you are
calling to me
always
because this is my
saying,
favorite topic.
you are
Again,
always
I
saying,
am, a broken record on this. When people are like, I don't know what to do, talk to your audience. Talk to your audience,
Mhm.
talk to your customers. If you are sitting here on this and you're like, I feel uncomfortable, I don't know even know who I would ask. I'm gonna give you some tough love that like you need to have at least a trusted group of customers and students that you have that you can go to that are gonna tell you the truth. Every company I've ever worked at, Teachable, we always ask for feedback. Sometimes it's not great. Like you are probably going to get some tough feedback, but the only way that you are going to know what works for your audience, for your school, and grow as a business is if you talk to your customers. So like if you ask, they will tell you. And then that gives you a good direction of where to go, and you're not sitting here guessing. So, if you take one single thing away from this and you're like, I have no idea about pricing, no idea about anything else, talk to your customers.
Mhm. All right, the fifth sign is your buyer has leveled up and your offer has leveled up. So if your audience has shifted, you're seeing more, more working professionals, more advanced learners. The problem, the subject matter is just becoming more urgent because of something going on, in the broader world. Your pricing should adjust to reflect that. If you've added like layers, like templates, like a community, a one-on-one support function, like that means the value is going up and the perception of the value is going up. So the pricing should follow. Um, sorry, the most effective. Yeah, that's a little redundant. Sorry. But yeah, you're just adding more. Your audience has changed, they've leveled up, your product has leveled up. All right, now, or how are we doing on time? We're doing okay. Now we're getting into the real meat. We're talking about the pricing strategies that actually work. Okay, so pricing is more than just a number. We're not like slapping a number on something because it looks good or it sounds good. Or like so and so is doing
Some
it for their
people do, and that's where they go wrong.
yes. But we're not going to do that. That's what we're not going to do. We're telling you to not do that. It is a strategic decision, and it's based on many different things. And we're going to talk about three pricing models, but it's like important to understand these three things and the choices that you have to make. Competition based. So you need to know the landscape. You need to know what people in similar niches with similar products are offering, or are charging rather, sorry. That doesn't mean like you're just going into that with the mentality of like, oh, I just need to be the lowest price because then surely people will buy from me. But you need to have an understanding. Cost base, I mean, you definitely know this, obviously, like we need to make a profit, so you need to cover your costs. It doesn't need to cap your potential, but very baseline, obviously, we need to cover our operational costs and value based. So anchor your price to the transformation you provide, not the amount of content, but like the transformation itself, like what you are going to unlock for your students, is essential.
Yeah. And I think just more to add here, like this is not news to you. You all have businesses. You have seen this before. We're not gonna say something that's gonna magically like open the skies and you're like, yes, it all makes sense now. Like you have seen this. I think something to remember that a lot of people forget is like you can't be all to everyone. You can't be affordable and a luxury brand. Like
Mhm.
there are things that you can do to capture more of an audience, but not everyone is going to be your ideal customer. So I would say a really like tangible thing coming out of this. If you don't know kind of where you fall on this pricing spectrum, again, they're all going to have a little bit. It's going to be a blend. But if you haven't thought about your business and say, maybe being the lowest price is not what I want to do, you're probably not going to get those people. It is not in your best interest to try to appeal to them if they are not your ideal customer. We're going to get into this a little bit later. There are things that you can do in terms of a beginner product, an intermediate, and advanced. There are things that you can do that's a really high ticket, that's maybe a one-on-one coaching or a mentorship, but you are not going to be everything to everyone. So don't try to be because that's going to set your business up to just give you a headache. So I just wanted to call that out as well.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that is like, especially getting into the value of having a portfolio, offering multiple products is one product, especially, is not going to be everything to everyone. So, like having the different tiers, and we're going to get into a pricing ladder in a second. Um, okay, cool. We're going to send out the replay of this. So, I'm not going to get into the seven strategies now. Let's go over them one by one. I am cognizant of the time. Cool. I was just talking about this, the pricing ladder. So pricing holistically, like for your business, works best when buyers have multiple entry points to come into your ecosystem, to come into your school, as we call it in Teachable. Not one price is going to serve everyone. So I'd say at a minimum, you'd want maybe three clear tiers, like an entry point, an intermediate point, a premium point. You want to make sure like each tier kind of has like a distinct transformation and level of need. It's not just like the intermediate is the same as entry plus, like three more bonus sections. Like they each need to have like a distinct challenge that they're solving. And then you want to use this structure to help guide buyers naturally into those higher value experiences. So ideally, if you have someone coming into your entry point, they would remain with you through their learning journey. Um, and like Steph, what would you say for somebody who's like, I ideally would want most people to buy the intermediate? Like what should
Yeah.
they do?
I mean, I think like traditionally for people who are selling product, even if it is,
Mhm.
you have a bunch of courses, it generally starts with some type of entry point or like you would prefer someone start with something. And a lot of times people will start with one product and then either, let's say you start with an intermediate and then you realize there's a need for like a mini course or more premium offering. A lot of people do what I'm about to say. I'm sure you've noticed this. And it's there for a reason. It's not just a pretend. When you look at any type of like subscription model or you're trying to decipher kind of what tier, I mean, like Teachable does this. It'll say like this is the most popular or start here or best value type of thing. And you basically are guiding people where to go. I think if you are a school, again, niche matters. If you are a school where you're building upon an experience, you want to have an entry, you want people to start there, and then you can kind of bring them through the journey together. If you are someone where you're teaching something different and you want to come in at an intermediate level and then also capture kind of people who maybe are a little bit more price conscious, also offer a mini course, but you can tell people where to go. They are coming to you because they trust your opinion and they have decided to purchase with you. Use that to your advantage.
Yeah, love it. And also, like one last thought, like there is a reason why entry pricing is going to be lower than premium pricing. And it's like it's matching the customer readiness. So if a person has gotten to the point where they can enter your ecosystem at the premium level, like they have to that point invested a certain amount of money and time to get to the level they're at. So likely they are ready to spend more. Okay, shift from content-based to transformation-based. We're kind of talking about quality over quantity here. Like your pricing doesn't need to be based solely on the number of video lessons, the hours of video lessons in your course, the number of modules. It should be tied to the value of the course. And the way I think about this is really obvious, but if I'm going to the movies, which I love to do, especially this time of year, I'm going to pay the same for a 90-minute movie as I do for a 3.5 hour movie. And I might even like the 90-minute movie more. Like it's not that experience is not tied to the length. Um, so you need to, when you're thinking about pricing, thinking about the transformation more so than the length of your product. What problem are you solving? What is that person going to get out of it? Is it going to lead to them having a higher earning potential? Like that's something really tangible that you could anchor your transformation to. Um, and then like also feedback, it always comes up. Use your strongest reviews and your student outcomes to really anchor that value. So again, if somebody came out of your course and then they say, I got that promotion or I got a raise, like that is so solid. And that's something to point to in your positioning and in your marketing. So align pricing with what buyers truly value. Okay. Talking about format, the content. I know I just said it's about the transformation, not the quantity, the length, but format does matter in that the format that the information is packaged is gonna kind of affect the like depth of their experience. So we kind of had these listed in this list here, ranking from like lowest price to highest price because a digital download can serve as a really quick entry point and a low commitment way to learn kind of the beginner steps. And then from there, your self-paced course is going to cost more. And from there, we're going to go over these in depth in a second. But like workshops, immersions, mentorship programs. And I think, yeah, on the right side there, we have again the average prices that these individual that people are charging for these individual formats.
One thing here too, and again, we're going to kind of get into like what's the difference between a workshop, an immersion, and
Mhm.
mentorship. But when you look at the slide, I think the purpose of this too is like you have content, like how can you kind of repurpose it?
Yeah.
So let's say self-paced course. A lot of people here probably have self-paced courses. There was someone I was working with who taught like how to solo travel. So let's say I build a self-paced course for how to solo travel, and then I look at my pricing and I'm like, this is my intermediate, my self-paced course is my intermediate offering. I want to be able to have something that maybe you can add on, to get your average order value up or something. I think of digital downloads even as like, or any type of order bump. Like you're at the checkout and you throw gum in and it's complimentary to your order. Or it could also be kind of a lead magnet to get people in. But self-paced course in this case is intermediate. A beginner could be a digital download. The beginner digital download for this specific example could be a template of, what to ask when you're traveling or something like that. So self-paced course is I'm traveling alone. Digital download is, here's an itinerary. And then if you want to take it one step further, a workshop or an immersion is like, I'm going to do this lesson in person and I'm going to charge way more for a
Mhm.
workshop because I'm giving my time in person one-to-one. Again, do you see how it's all the same content, just different
Yeah.
types of mediums, I guess? And then a mentorship is, let's say someone's like, I want to hire you one-on-one to mentor me long term on how I can be the best in this. So this really gives you like, you don't really need to have a ton of different content if you don't want to. If you do, again, of course you can, but this way you can kind of tier your school. You're still appealing to the people that want to solo travel. So you are not trying to be everything to everyone, but within kind of that customer profile, you're being able to appeal to different subsets of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're even within that customer profile, there are going to be different types of learners. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about bundles and memberships, but basically the way you package your products can really strengthen the perceived value and help increase your AOV, which we like to talk about, average order value. Average order value is a fun thing to think about because basically by increasing the value of each transaction, like it means you can hit revenue goals with fewer transactions and fewer new customers. So you can create bundles that combine complementary products. So this can be like a course and a template in the form of a digital download. Like maybe you offer a personal finance course, and on the digital download side, you're going to offer like a Google Sheet budget tracker that they can implement. Maybe it's a course and a corresponding workshop that goes like a little bit more in depth in a group setting. Maybe it's two courses that just like one builds upon the other, or like one is the natural next step. You're combining those, and also you're helping your customer because you're helping them understand the learning journey and kind of surfacing relevant content for them. And then you can introduce a membership tier where people get recurring access to all these things and to your product ecosystem. You could charge, like you saw earlier, on a monthly fee or a annual. Um, and yeah, kind of just packaging these things in different ways, like a self-paced course, like with a live workshop, or maybe a cohort-based course with a few live sessions within lessons and drip content. Like that can just increase the transformation and it helps you justify your pricing change. All right, we're talking about strategic add-ons. So things that again build on upon your content. But people have a different willingness to pay. These are things like extended access. So on Teachable, you can actually set the access duration. So you could advertise extended access as a bonus. You can have, like we said, like a template or the resource in the form of a digital download. You can have like one-on-one feedback or review sessions. Like maybe you teach a writing course and you give students the opportunity to submit a piece of writing and you review it, and then you book a 30-minute session with them to talk through the feedback. Certification or portfolios, these are again really tangible things that people walk away from your course with, like kind of feeling confident in, how they approach the job market, maybe. And you can offer these things in the form of upsells. So that's going to be like post-purchase. It can live in course lesson content. It could be even right after they check out on your thank you page. It can be an order bump, which is at checkout. They're going to see it as they're about to check out. I always love an order bump. I often take advantage of those. I just bought loafers and then bought the leather protector as an order bump. And then we also have on the new student dashboard, we have places to promote things within the ecosystem where your student already is. So we have the hero banner, and then we have links on the right rail of the student dashboard. So students are already logging in, they're already taking the course they bought, and then they see those supplementary add-ons kind of being promoted in those places. They are like most prime to buy right there, I would say.
I do also have, again, very grain of salt. What I'm about to say is not going to apply to every industry. If you are someone that teaches, SAT training and someone asks for an extended access, probably like ethically or morally doesn't feel right to charge them extra for like something like a test like that. So again, take a grain of salt. But if you are sitting here and you're like, I don't feel ready to raise my core prices, but like I have hit a plateau or I feel like I'm hitting a plateau and I don't want to know what to do, and these are included in your baseline offer, I would highly recommend to take that out and make it an additional offering
Mhm. Oh.
for customers moving forward. I think also something, and I don't know if I already weaved this in somewhere else in the presentation, but a lot of people that I work with coming up to the end of the year, they'll use, we have the new hero banner that Caitlin just mentioned, but you can advertise of this is the last time you're going to be able to get
Mhm.
XYZ thing at this price with this offering. At the end of the year, it is going away. I'm raising my prices or, extended access will no longer be available for free. Take advantage of this now. That way you can kind of capitalize on the December hangover is what some people call it. January is a really great time for sales. Sometimes people feel like December kind of lulls. You can take advantage of offering kind of a secondary sale that's not your Black Friday with this. And then come January, you raise your prices. I don't know who it was, but somewhere in the chat, someone said, I actually raised my prices and then my Black Friday discount is like what my prices used to be,
Oh,
which
that's
is great. And
awesome.
that's like the
Yeah.
TJ Maxx, they'll say, originally 24 and it's on sale for 12, but it was always kind of that price. So I think just again, huge grain of salt with depends on your niche and how you're selling, but I would say this is a good place to start if you kind of feel stuck.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. We're going to talk a little bit about high ticket, but actually, well, I'll get to it in a second. But you can add on a high ticket offer to capture, demand, all advanced demand. High ticket is really just like about delivering deeper support, like more access to you, better student outcomes because they have accountability, they have more personalized guidance. Um, so this is perfect to position to students who already trust you and like want, faster or more results. So you could look through your course completion rates. You could pick out the students who have like completed multiple courses of you. Like they are perfectly primed for this, for marketing for one of your higher ticket offers. Steph, do you want to go a little bit
Yeah, we
into
can, if you can actually, because
ACR?
I think this is an autumn, yeah, we'll
There
do
we
three.
go.
I
We're
kind of hit on
driving.
this earlier, and in the next slide, we'll have like a little, I don't want to get too far into it, but I think when you think of high ticket, there's also different ways that you can do it. So when I think, again, when I think of immersion, I think of kind of a weekend intensive program. So something
Mhm.
like potentially a yoga retreat where like maybe your core offering is, teaching yoga teacher training, and then you want to take those people and take them to a weekend intensive retreat. Everyone has seen these before. When you think of mentorship, this is also kind of what I was talking about earlier, of like passing your bar exam or SAT or ACT. Like it's not maybe one to one, maybe it is, but it could also be like, I am an expert, and then you also have a group to hold you accountable. So, even Teachable does this with top creators. We'll say maybe we have like a mentorship session, and then we're adding you to this WhatsApp group or something where everyone else can keep you accountable. I also think, again, I hate to say Duolingo again, but they do crush it in many areas. A lot of times Duolingo kind of functions like this. Obviously, that's more automated. The expert is kind of the app, and then the accountability is them sending you push notifications. So don't necessarily think that this might just be like an in-person. There are other ways that you can do it. And then the last one, mastermind, I think if you are all not part of a mastermind, you've probably been invited to a mastermind. If you haven't, I would recommend talking to your peers because I think they're a great way. there's a bunch of language creators on the Teachable platform, and they have a mastermind of like 200 plus people. This is going to be networking. I think let's use it in a tangible example of students. Let's say you then, graduate from a course or something, you can then sell them access to a mastermind, or if you want to offer a mastermind yourself. So I think all of these things, there is a way that you can say, how can I sell this to students and how can I be the expert? And then how can they kind of go use it? So the next slide will kind of probably answer this a little bit more.
Yeah, basically, that is to say, we could talk about high ticket offers for an entire hour. So, luckily, we're bringing in an expert to do this on Monday, which is the third and final webinar of our December webinar series. Victor DiMaggio specializes in this very thing. He's a leading digital marketing creator. He kind of specializes in mentorship specifically, and he's going to come in and talk about the way to scale with higher ticket items, which I'm like very interested in because scaling seems like the very unique challenge of these kind of offers. So scan the QR code there if you want to go to the registration page. And if you don't have your phone on you, that's okay. We're going to send out the links later. Or actually, Bia and Michael, if you're in the chat and have the link handy, if you could drop it in the chat. All right, that was a little commercial break. Now we're on to the seventh strategy. Implement a recurring pricing review cycle. So just basically get ahead of this. Our top creators are maybe not updating their pricing regularly, but they're visiting it regularly, not only during launches. So you want to review it quarterly, maybe twice a year. And then just reassess, like look at your buyer behavior, look at your sales performance, your performance indicators, the way your product and the market have evolved, like assess all these things. It doesn't mean that you are changing your price every time, but you're going to visit, you're not going to set it and forget it, basically. Just be proactive. Don't like wait for it to stagnate. Of course, like we've said, smart pricing isn't just about charging more. I hope that you've all like taken this as the big theme. It's about aligning with value. So it's about aligning your price with the value you actually deliver and then revisiting it as your business evolves, as your offering evolves, as the market evolves. None of these things are happening in a vacuum. And then before we wrap up, here's a step-by-step of what your decision process should look like. Yes. Okay. So we just talked about implementing a pricing review for yourself, and then, we have to tell you what that should involve. So you're going to diagnose the problem. Maybe there is no problem. You're going to look at your KPIs, look at the buyer behavior, things like hesitation, abandoned cart that we were talking about before, student feedback. All of these strategies we just talked about, you're going to kind of diagnose and have a system for looking at those. And then you're going to ask yourself, like, what do I need to change? Is it the price or is it the format? Do I need to add in a high ticket offer here? Like, is it the packaging? Like, oh, I think the price of my course is good, but people are really asking for this thing, this template to put into practice, this worksheet. I'm going to add a digital download. So decide what that lever is. And then when you do make a change, I think this is true with a lot of things, you're going to start small. So test with a control change. We're not like overhauling the entire product catalog right away. You're going to start with one product, one tier, one small offer. You're not going to like become guns blazing with like 10 new digital downloads. Just start small. And
One
then,
thing to know, I'm so sorry, but
yeah,
I need to say
no,
this.
I love this because you
If
were the
you are reviewing your pricing and you have decided to increase your price,
Mhm.
make an informed decision. Don't change it more than once in a certain amount of time. There is a
Yeah.
very, again, I can't say who it is, but there is a very, very successful creator that I work with that changed their price. They didn't see the immediate, payoff that they wanted. The next week they changed their price
Yeah.
again. Then they changed their price again. That is the worst thing that you can do. I would rather you change your price for whatever it is, wait a few months and then like, think about a marketing strategy if it's really, not going, the way you want it to. Test as much as you can, start small. You don't want to make really, really drastic changes that are going to impact like your business as a whole, and you don't want to be the person that's changing their prices every other week. So, I just
Yeah.
needed to caveat that.
No, I want to talk about that again for a sec because we earlier talked about buyer hesitation. And sometimes certain people are just like not impulse buyers, especially with things that cost more, especially things like courses where it's like they're really investing in themselves. So they might be like spying, like they might be repeatedly visiting your sales page or your website, like thinking about it before they actually hit purchase. Like if they're seeing a fluctuating price, I do think that takes away some credibility. Again, I don't think this is like a common thing, but good to think about. Um, no, Steph, can I tell you what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to say, don't change your price without doing a last call promotion, like we talked about
I mean, I
earlier.
do also feel that way.
Yeah.
Because then you capitalize on both. You get like the sales from the last call. I think
Yeah.
also there is a question that we'll get to Q&A. We'll try to like be quick where someone was like, I'm interested to know how you would lower your price without upsetting current
Mm,
clientele. So we'll kind of get
that's a
into
great
that.
question.
But
Yeah.
I would say in general, last call pricing, don't forget to do that.
Awesome. Okay. And lastly, measure and revisit. Like many things, this is a fluctuating, evolving thing. So set your next review date now while you're doing the current one. Oh, that's right. So I almost forgot. Our Black Friday sales challenge is happening now. So if you need a little extra incentive to keep selling, the challenge is still on. Black Friday is over, but your sales through the very end of the year actually count against this challenge. So basically, every sale that you make on Teachable, it does have to be on Teachable Gateway, so Teachable Pay or monthly payment gateway. Every sale that you've made starting back in November 6th, going through December 31st, counts towards your rewards. So that starts at the lowest tier is 10K in sales in that, just under 2 month period is going to get you a $50 credit for your subscription annual plan, for your Teachable annual plan. And that stacks. So every 10K is going to stack with $50. Um, Over 250K, you're going to get a feature on our blog or podcast. 500K, we have a creator grant that you can use toward paid ads, consulting. And sorry, I'm talking fast. The most exciting reward is if you beat 1.5 million, is you can get an all expense paid trip to Brazil for the Hotmart Fire Fest 2026. Sorry, it's just fire. It's just fire.
Not
Um, which
Firefest.
which we've had this running joke internally a few times with our Hotmart colleagues. Steph, you went last year. It's like the biggest creator event, like 10,000 people. It's
I
huge.
think, can I say it's
Weekend.
insane? Because it's insane, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much there. It's so well produced. It's a great networking opportunity. Masterminds, just creators everywhere. If you don't speak Portuguese, don't worry because they have headphones that translate into your language. There's a bunch of different stages, so it's an insane opportunity, to be quite honest.
Awesome. Cool. All right. And that's just with the QR code one more time for our Monday webinar with Victor DiMaggio.
We have
Cool.
some Q&A.
And then we have a few questions for Q&A. Steph, could you hit on that question you just called out a minute ago about
Yeah. I have it pulled up here. So I think that there's a few. I think in the last 7 minutes we'll try to get through these.
awesome.
There was a question, I cannot remember who asked it in the beginning of I have, I think 24 courses and my price is over $100. Should I charge less? So this is something where again, I'm going to be that annoying person and say, what's your niche? How are you selling? Is it a one-time purchase? Is it a subscription? I think like very, 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 very general rule of thumb. If it is a one-time purchase, you should not be charging less than $100. Again, unless it's like a digital download, something like that. Very grain of salt. It's so hard to say. It's like when you see things on Instagram and doctors are like, this is not medical advice, but general. Like that's how I feel right now. Of
Yes.
like this is not specific business advice because I actually don't know. But I would say in general, $100 is probably the low end of it, unless it's something one-off. So I would say that is my caveat on that. But I think to go through some of the questions we have in Q&A, and Caitlin, this was kind of yours. So Pam says, you mentioned that 80% of sales of evergreen products
Mm.
come in the first 2 years after launch. So do you recommend remaking and renaming core courses in order to be able
Mm.
to continue to sell them as we did in the first 2 years of launch, rather than tweaking and adding new content to them? What do you think?
I mean, I feel like it's one of those things that depends. And you know what I'm thinking of like as a source of comparison is like in the Teachable blog. Like we talk so much about digital marketing trends, like the online learning space, like features on Teachable, and those things change and we'll revisit like can we this blog about, order bumps that just came to mind that we did 2 years ago, like the feature has changed, the trends have changed. Should we do a net new post or should we what's the word? Revamp this post and like republish it and get it to the top of the page. And like the answer is different. And I hate to this almost feels like a cop out, but Steph, like you're in my head, like
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it
ask
depends.
ask your customers. I think it really depends on a lot of things like your niche and like how much that industry has changed. Like if you have an AI course, like a course that you
I'm
publish
actually,
about
yeah, so
AI,
happy you brought that up.
right? Like from 2023, it is a drastically different landscape today in 2025, the end of 2025, even though that time has like flown by. Like in that case, I'd be like, yeah, new course, new offer. But like something like watercolors or like so there are some things that are more evergreen. So I think it would be kind of like a revamp, adding a few layers and maybe just a re-promotion, and you don't need to start from scratch.
I think also this is a good thing. I have a client where every year they do basically a long course, and then you can purchase it after the fact. And the first one, they were like, this just doesn't represent my business as much anymore. So they're doing like a retirement sale where they're like, I'm going to retire this evergreen course completely. I'm going to do something new that's like better suited with my brand and how I am now. And they like, again, end of year sale, retirement sale, anything where like you can kind of capture that. So I would say it does depend, but
Yeah.
hopefully that gives you like, good
Like understand the
direction.
direction of think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
In the last few minutes, I'm sorry, we'll be quick. Someone asked, they joined late. Are we, when we send this out, do we send the slides or is it just the YouTube replay?
it's going to be just the
Okay.
YouTube replay. Yeah.
There we go.
Um,
Someone else did have a question. Sorry, I'm scrolling up in the chat of what is the best way to get honest feedback. I feel like everyone is oversaturated with
mm,
surveys. Not to just take this and run with it because we only have 3 minutes. Um, Great. I think when things come from a business versus when things come from an individual person, you are way more inclined to answer. So what I would say is if you don't also ask for testimonials or reviews now, I would incorporate that into there. I would also say to get honest feedback from people, if someone leaves a review or you notice they complete your course, reach out to them, very personal email, and ask for feedback, but don't just do it to the people who are giving you positive feedback or are completing your course. If someone has purchased your course, let's say, and they've started it and then they kind of have dropped off, great way to like engage them and ask
mhm.
questions. Not everyone is going to respond, and that is fine. I think it's more important to be consistent with it. And then you'll start to build relationships. I think, like my clients, for example, when I first started at Teachable, none of them knew me. They didn't have any reason to respond to me. But like over time, I was consistent in reaching out and saying, I'm not
Mhm.
here to sell you, I'm here to help you. Kind of having that, and it will come. So it's something that I recommend to every single person, but it's not going to be, a flood of people in the beginning, and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I
Okay,
would
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I would utilize things like Typeform, things like Google Form that just like they take some of the friction out for your student. It just like it's a very easy user experience. It's kind of like set up the expectation like this is gonna take 5 to 10 minutes. And I love surveys. So I've weirdly discovered that I love surveys recently. Okay, you had a final question picked out?
Yes, there's another one of any practical tips when we change pricing. This is from Pam. It's very labor intensive when you think about bumps,
Mm.
upsells, bundles, memberships, etc. All pricing is tied to many other products. You said it and it would be like my thing. Start small. I
Yeah.
really think you need to start small. I don't think that you need to go crazy and adjust the bumps and the upsells and the bundles and the like. What is your core
Mhm.
offering? Kind of back to what I said of like the most popular or the best value, or what is the one thing that you want people to purchase the most that you would think that they would find the most value in? Start with that. And then, depending on how you're pricing that product, maybe your order bumps need to decrease in price. Maybe they need to increase. But I think having the baseline and starting with one specific product and starting small will kind of give you direction of how to go do it. So that would be probably my advice to you.
Absolutely. And it's not the subject of this webinar, but like I would apply to that advice to like how you approach your course content. Like don't overwhelm your students with 87 takeaways in one section. Like everything should be really targeted. And that applies to course content, learning, and that applies to how you view your business.
Perfect. Right
Yeah.
at time. I would
We
say,
are right at time. That kind of flew by.
yeah. Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you so
If you want
much.
to, I think scroll back maybe
Oh,
to
I
the
actually think I have
webinar.
another slide. I
There you
hope I
go.
have not lost anyone. I almost forgot about this important slide. Um, You can scan that QR code, or Bia and Michael are going to drop the link in the chat. But we love to hear your feedback because it helps us, tailor these webinars, decide what to offer next. Anyone who fills out this form will be Is it entered? Oh no, we will. We're going to give you I didn't even realize this is better than I thought. We're going to give you like an analysis of your buyer behavior. Oh, okay. Did I lose Steph or did I lose myself? All right, we hear you, Pia. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Signing off for now.